The NFL wildcard weekend was indeed super, and after a flurry of thrilling games, we have the league's 8 best teams remaining. We recap last week's action and predict the NFL division round right here on Coast Knows Ball.
And let's just say it, the Chargers did not beat the Patriots. I was wrong.
Man.
Did I lone dog that one?
You did. You did end up lone
grown
dog.
men admit when they make mistakes, and I believed in the wrong white boy. I mean, the white boy did not have motion that I thought would have motion.
Yeah,
I thought we were all Drake May believers, and I'm the Patriots rival here.
Yeah, that's true.
We were, and then I just fell into the Harbaugh effect, and I should have just known that it's the NFL. He's gonna lose in the playoffs, but I just didn't think about that.
As long as he has Greg Roman as his OC, yeah, that's no doubt.
I don't think I got a single pick wrong other than that, though. Did I?
We both picked Jacksonville. I think we all three picked.
Oh, no, Jags. Yeah, I forgot the Bills one. That is my bad. Dang, both AFC East picks.
I was going to say something about Liam Cohen and being stubborn. Obviously, we're going to talk about each game here. But since we're already talking about the Jags game, what immediately comes to mind is that one opportunity they had where they could have kicked the field goal and just make the full possession. And they just went for it. I was going to criticize Liam Cohen here, and I am, in a sense. But coaches just being so stubborn. Especially, across the league. I felt like every game I was watching, I was scratching my head, why don't they just kick the field goal? I think coaches are just refusing to do it. It's a stubbornness to it. I think it's trying to send a message type of thing, but you gotta take the points at some point, I think.
Yeah, no, completely agree. It's really strange that we had the most lead changes in the fourth quarter that we've ever had in a wildcard weekend, let alone even postseason, I think.
And that's with zero in the last 2 games.
Yeah, and that's how insane the first 4 games were, but you're also right about that. And I think there's also a stat that says that this is the most amount of times a team has gone for it on 4th down in the wildcard weekend as well. And, obviously only a little bit of precedent with 6 games in the wildcard weekend, only a few years of that. But still, I just couldn't believe some of the over-aggressiveness on some coaches, on some teams' behalfs. And that's one example of that. I understand it's only 2 yards, and there are a number of play calls that you can do to get those yards. And frankly, what happened on the play, if it's executed correctly, they probably get it. But Trevor Lawrence freaking slips and falls short of the line. And so that's kind of like a comedy of errors type of moment where, oh, look, you could have had points. And it's not hindsight if you had that take going into the play as well.
I did, obviously. Yeah.
Right. No, I did as well.
No, I know.
It's a playoff game. Every snap matters. Every single snap matters. If it didn't matter in the regular season, it sure as hell does now. And to have that play go the way that it did, and to know that you could have had an extra 3 points, go up, like you said, a full touchdown. It would have been 10-3 at this point. And that ended up being the difference, 3 points. And even though I got the pick wrong, I picked Jacksonville, the game went basically exactly how I thought it would in the grand scheme. Jacksonville was going to run the ball well. They're going to make a couple of clutch plays on offense and defense.
And they refused to run the ball more, right?
And they're going to start the game strong. They didn't start the game as strong as I thought they would. I will say the Bills came out and executed on their game plan from the beginning. It didn't feel like the Bills were playing from behind at all in this game, which is kind of what we thought they would be.
Either. But really, the game plan for the Bills is just Josh Allen be an alien. I mean, he gets injured
it's kind of just
5
Josh
times.
Allen go do Josh Allen things.
Yeah. He gets banged up 5 times in this freaking game and comes back every time, and really was just the elite quarterback we expect out of him. And it's really good that, again, convenient for the Bills that it starts to show up here in the postseason now that it's so wide open as it is. And maybe their biggest test might have been Jacksonville, barring a Houston reunion in the championship or conference championship, right? So I don't know.
Right.
But yeah.
And on that note, which is why, and I know we're going to maybe touch on these things a little bit as well, but it's also why I want Joe Brady far from Miami. I have no confidence in Joe Brady.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who is, so I'm talking to you.
He's not getting any interviews though, is he? I have not heard
Miami.
any.
No, I don't think so.
Miami sent him an interview request.
Matt Nagy has been a hot name for some reason. He's getting an interview with everybody.
I actually don't get it.
It's blasphemous to me. It makes zero sense.
Yeah, I actually just don't get it.
So I guess, yeah, before we get into that, like, we can talk a little bit of coaching news, because there have been some news, actually, since the last time we talked. The day after Mike McDaniel was let go. No, the day after the recording last week, Mike McDaniel was let go. And then, Mike Tomlin also resigned right after the playoff loss. That was a bit of a shock. It was time, you're right. But I'm just surprised that because I really felt like that AFC North for the division game in Week 18 between the Ravens and Steelers, the winner would keep their job stick around, and the loser would get fired. The loser did get fired, but here we are. The winner also just leaves the position. So that was a pretty interesting development, honestly. But it really is time for a change in Pittsburgh. They need a big just identity cleanse. Just no more of the veteran quarterback thing with Aaron Rodgers and then with Big Ben before that. And, the Kenny Pickett experiment didn't work, obviously. Maybe they roll with Will Howard for a season, see how he does, see how his development has worked behind Aaron Rodgers. I mean...
That's brutal. I feel like they got to go for a quarterback in the draft, and probably Ty Simpson if he doesn't go back to college.
The question will be whether they're even in position to do so, If they're the same old
Simpson's
Steelers...
been falling quite a bit.
No, yeah, I hear you. I'm talking about the Steelers being in a position to take him, like, highly.
Right.
But we'll see.
They can be because they're always in purgatory.
Right, and that's my question. Like, will it be the same old Steelers in purgatory because maybe they don't just do a full philosophy change, even though Tomlin's gone. I think that'll be one of the more interesting teams to watch next season. As far as that's concerned, they're probably going to be really boring, actually, in real time. But
aren't they always?
Yeah, there are a couple teams where every time I see them on the screen, it just makes me want to turn the TV off, and the Steelers are one of them.
It's really funny too. I don't know if you guys have noticed this trend, or maybe it's just in my circle or my niche in Twitter. But not even just Twitter, just social media in general. But I have really noticed over the last season and a half, maybe 2 seasons, that Steeler fans actually are the ones that are very realistic about Mike Tomlin and have wanted him gone for a while, where the rest of the NFL media are the people that have been, giving him all this praise for never having a losing season and never being shut out in his career and all this stuff is actually completely meaningless. Why do I care that
he has won a Super Bowl in 20 years?
Yeah, why do I care that you've gone 500 or better when you've lost 8 straight now playoff games?
8 straight playoff games.
What is the relevance?
One of them to the Browns.
Yeah, what is the relevance to that? And same thing with the shutout games. I saw someone else post that, pandering to Mike Tomlin's greatness. Oh, he's the longest tenured coach to never have been shut out. The Steelers are the second longest, only to the Ravens from 2003. The Steelers haven't been shut out since 2006 or whatever. Just
whatever, Grandpa.
What does it matter? You realize the 0-16 Browns in 2017 were not shut out in a single game. And they're one of the worst teams of all time. What does that matter? I don't understand.
It doesn't matter.
Hey, man, the Chargers were the number 1 offense and number 1 defense in 2010. And you know what they got? Nothing. Because it doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. They don't have a ring. You need those if you're going to keep a job. And the fact that he wasn't fired is kind of crazy.
Yeah. The fact that he has to step away and maybe he gets traded. Not this offseason, but the next offseason would probably be when it would happen. The other trade possibility.
But my friend who's a Ravens fan was just saying he wanted Mike Tomlin immediately. I'm like, dog, you just had Mike Tomlin, but slightly better. He at least won his playoff games sometimes.
Yeah, and won a more recent Super Bowl at that.
Oh, yeah. It just made zero sense to me when he was like, Tomlin's the guy I want. I'm like, no, you don't. You do not want Tomlin.
Mm-hmm. The other rumor or, thing that people are hyping about with head coach trade is Matt LaFleur potentially being traded out of Green Bay. It's not been something that's been talked about among the franchise circles or anything, but just something that people have circulated. Like, what if they did do that? What if they did consider trading Matt LaFleur? And I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on something like that as well. Like, what would be a spot for LaFleur to go if he is? Is this even worth talking about? And of course, we can tie into that their meltdown against the Bears as well this weekend.
Right.
But yeah, go ahead.
He'll be highly coveted. I think Miami just obviously just hired Sully as their GM. Yeah, that's a new nickname for him. Sullivan is Sully.
Okay.
I think Miami would probably be putting LaFleur at their top of their list if LaFleur was fired, and I wouldn't be totally opposing to it. I think he's a little stubborn, but he is a tactician. I don't think he's a total non-facet, right? So it would be something I would welcome. Not my number one choice, but I think it would be something interesting, and not just Miami. I think with so many openings, I think teams would do their due diligence and look at LaFleur, I think.
Who is your number one choice for Miami?
I would say Stefanski right now.
Okay.
And I'll get to that in a second. And my number two would be Kubiak. So Kubiak had a lot of success in Seattle with an offense that has talent, but it feels like he elevates the offense more than anything, at least in my eyes. And with Stefanski, it's more so track record with Miami's head coaches. Yeah, we've been trying coordinators for a while now. I think it's time maybe we get a guy who can maybe bring in decent coordinators and go from there. And I think he didn't have a lot of help from his roster in any time he was in Cleveland. Obviously, he didn't elevate it as much as you would probably want, but I think it's time for Miami to try a guy with experience.
Well, and
which is why I also wouldn't hate LaFleur, by the way.
Yeah, I've been very critical of Stefanski during his tenure with Cleveland, and it wasn't all bad early.
Available though.
Yeah, right. It's a weak coaching class in my opinion, but the early years in Cleveland weren't bad, and I think the big difference and part of what was so confusing this year for me was that early in his tenure in Cleveland, he had a very strong rushing attack, and with Nick Chubb and with who else was there? Dearness Jones behind him and players like that. And it really helped the passing offense, and it was very complimentary in that way. And this year, what was so confusing is that, the rookie running backs, Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson, but they're very, very talented. And I feel like they complement each other well based on their skill sets. And it just never really, individually, they were successful somewhat and very talented. You could see that when they play. But it never
together.
landed, and it never landed into production for the offense. It was never a crutch that they could rely on. And so maybe for Stefanski, just a fresh start with a very strong running back room in Miami could spell some success for them.
Yeah, we have the trench players that he would probably want. He has a good foundation in Patrick Poole and Brewer, and you already talked about the running back room, so I think it matches in that sense, and he would probably get to pick his own quarterback. And for his defense, he has some very solid cornerstone players there as well. Chop is young. Obviously, he didn't evolve as much as we would like him to in the second year. But the talent's still there. We have Jordan Brooks. Minka looks like he's going to stay. Hopefully, we re-sign Russell Douglas. I sure would. So, we'll see. I don't think it's as bad of an opening as people think. Obviously, I don't think it's an ideal opening because of cap space and the Tua situation, the Tyreek situation. But it's like you said, it's a chance to start fresh and pick your guy and build your roster, I think.
Yeah.
So, I think it's exciting.
All right.
Who do you think is the best fit for Tua outside of the Vikings?
Outside of the Vikings, well, I would say the Vikings immediately because of O'Connell, and I don't think they're going to keep McCarthy for long. So outside of Minnesota. For a while, I thought maybe Denver, because I'm not a huge Bo Nix guy, and that roster is too good to.
Tyler, how would you feel about getting Tua turn the ball over to be your quarterback?
Oh my goodness.
Tua?
Yeah.
Taglovich?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tagliova or whatever the fuck. What about him?
Would you like him to replace Bo Nix?
Go fuck yourself, bro.
No, I'm not saying Denver, by the way. I'm not saying Denver. I said in the beginning of the season, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Honestly, it would be hilarious to see the Jets doing it. Especially now with the Dante Moore news, but I don't see that happening either.
I
So,
mean, if we're being real, like, you draft
you
another
see
pass
happen?
catcher for them with the top 3 pick there. Like, they already have the offensive line. They've got the run game you'd like to think. With Brees
You'd like to
Hall and
think.
with what's his face behind him. Why can't I think of his name? I don't know. But like you'd like to think that there's a foundation there that maybe could work for a veteran quarterback, but
Sure.
I just don't know if the unappealing part would be that they would have to take on at least part of that contract. I think they would much rather start
Right,
with a much cheaper option with like a Davis Mills or something and see how that goes. Because I do think Davis Mills could like have a potential ceiling as a low end starter. We've kind of seen that over the years that he's come in relief. He's not been bad by any means.
Right.
Am I the only one who's bringing back up the Tua retire argument at this point? Because
No, he's gonna play, dude.
like, why not though? I mean, you've already made $200 million.
Because
like,
he wants to play. If he wanted to stop, he would have stopped already a long time ago.
I mean, at some point you got to be real with yourself and just be like, I'm not that guy.
I mean,
Sure,
but
that's not happening.
most players make that decision long past they should have. You know, it's just a reality of sports and everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that like these people spend their entire lives, literally their entire lives up to that point, doing this thing. And I mean, part of the reason why we see such issues like with mental health among former players in professional sports is because they've dedicated their entire lives to that, and after they retire, a lot of them feel very directionless. They
don't know what to do.
Players will hang on to their professional careers as long as they can, in almost every case.
That's fair.
Okay. Any last thoughts about the coaching carousel before we recap the rest of these games?
Yeah, I don't know why people think the Raiders are a good job opening. That franchise is very, very dysfunctional. Pete Carroll had no autonomy in that roster whatsoever. He just was fired after a year. He shouldn't have been hired in the first place. Okay, sure, but I think the way they conducted that was a little.
I think it really comes with you have your pick at whatever quarterback you really want. Assuming they pick a rookie quarterback with the first overall pick, which they probably will end up doing. But even then, like, you could trade back realistically and go and acquire a veteran if someone really wanted to go that route. Of course, it didn't work with Geno Smith, and I would imagine that any head coach that made that decision would probably get the can. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that it would be something that they would approve of, but like, I don't think a Kyler Murray with Vegas, with the Brock Bowers, which he has Trey McBride in Arizona, right? And with Ashton Janty, and you can invest if you trade back. You can invest in another receiver. You can invest in an offensive line. You can invest in some defensive pieces in free agency and with depth. In the through the rest of the draft in day 2 and 3, like I could see a real scenario where that is a kind of attractive position, but at the same time, you are working with very little.
Yep.
I would push back a little bit on what Rufy said about Pete Carroll. I don't think it's unfair to fire him because this entire offseason was kind of spent building his team up. I mean, we've all talked about Pete Carroll has to get his running back. You get the number 1 running back in the class in everyone's eyes except for us, except for me and Anthony because we're Marion Hampton fans. Mm-hmm. And then you go and get your quarterback. You spend a 3rd-round pick on a quarterback, Geno Smith, been excellent for years past. For the most recent future, he's been excellent for Pete Carroll. Cool. So you got your quarterback, you get your running back, the Pete Carroll quote-unquote has to have. You have Max Crosby on defense, and you go out there and you have the worst team in football. That's fireable in my opinion. I don't care. If you are such a negligible team that I confidently picking the Titans against you, you're probably not a coach that should be in the league right now.
No, which is why I said they shouldn't have hired him in the first place. So that just shows me that their franchise doesn't know what they're doing. Exactly my point.
That's fair.
Fair.
All right. Shall we?
Yes.
I guess we already talked a lot about Jacksonville Buffalo, so we probably don't have to revisit that. But otherwise, we can go in order of the schedule. So the first game we got was Carolina at home, number 4 Carolina versus the number 5 LA Rams, and that was a real thriller. And I was really excited for a large portion of this game for that upset alert, and it didn't end up happening. You know, the final play, 4th and 10. Right in Jimmy Horn's hands, and just can't haul it in, and really unfortunate.
So unfortunate.
But yeah, give me your thoughts, guys, on the game. You know, what are some big impressions? What can the Panthers look forward to next season?
Bryce Young is gonna screw over this franchise again, and I'm just getting more and more rewarded by that draft pick.
I agree
because they're gonna continue to buy into him, and he's gonna continue to not lead them to the promised land.
You see, that's where I disagree with you. This is where I disagree with you, and it's because I'm a Dolphins fan. The Panthers are doing what the Dolphins should have done. Miami did not have to pay Tua. The reason why Miami is in such a fucked up spot is because we paid Tua when we didn't have to. The Panthers are not paying Bryce Young. They're picking up the 5th-year option. So just
and then he's going to go play mediocre next year, but just good enough for them to extend him.
Okay, if that happens, then it's a whole separate topic, and we'll talk about that when that happens. Okay, but as a time being, I think they're doing the right thing. I think he played well enough to be there for 5th year. And we'll see what happens after that. I think Canales is doing a decent enough job.
If they fire Canales, then they're screwing themselves over. Canales is the guy for the job. They just need to get him a quarterback who's actually competent.
I agree. I think that team's competitive.
Not competent. Sorry, Bryce Young is definitely competent. He's just too damn inconsistent. You need consistency from the quarterback position.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, and I like Bryce. I like it.
I've tried to buy in on Bryce. I really have. I don't hate him as a person. I just need him to be consistent.
And there have been stretches where he's been pretty remarkable this season, and for how kind of mediocre quarterback play has been, you could have argued over a few weeks that he was a top 10 quarterback in the league. You know, think about the Falcons game, or both Falcons games, frankly. Think about the Rams game. I think both Rams games. You know, he had a couple hiccups, and the turnover was bad. The 2 turnovers, I think he fumbled as well. But so the turnovers were bad, but like, he was clutch enough and capable enough of winning this game. He had the lead
going into the 2-minute warning. The second half were 2 different stories for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But he had the lead going into the 2-minute warning. Defense gave up a touchdown late. They had 30 seconds left to try to drive down, and I was confused by the sequence of events on that last drive, on those last 4 plays. The ball wasn't thrown to Tet once. So I don't know if that was a game plan thing where they're just not setting him up to be open on certain plays, or, you know, Bryce is supposed to read this side of the field and Tet's over here as a decoy option. I don't know what it was, or if Bryce Young was just not throwing his way or just completely missing him. But you got to throw it to your number 1 guy in at least one of those moments. But at the same time, also 4th down, the throw was good enough. Horn was open. You have to catch the ball, man. And that's a very rough rookie mistake. And I think Horn is a relatively talented player who could have a future in the NFL, but that's a tough one to not haul in, you know?
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Big time mistake from a big time player.
But yeah, so
I will say my biggest takeaway from this game is
the Rams
I'm out on the Rams. Out on the Rams. The Bears are winning next week, and I'm feeling really good about it, to be honest with you. Caleb Williams feels very, very good to get behind in this playoff, especially when the quarterback play has been down this year, and we're starting to see some really not starting to see. We've seen clutch moments from Caleb Williams the entire season. We're talking about a team that has, I think, the NFL record for most comebacks in a year.
Yes. Yeah. Most fourth-quarter comebacks of all time this year for the Bears.
Yeah, so I'm feeling very, very good about this Bears team moving forward.
Icy?
I know I've actually had a lot of people in my personal life say that they don't understand the Bears hype, and it's they know how to win. That is what the hype is. You may not know their players very well because they're young, but they got a lot of talent, they're very well coached, and they're playing good football down the line, and they're not making mistakes in the second half, which is giving them good opportunities to go out there and win games. I am really buying into Chicago right now for a playoff run right now.
And I think the key
Valid.
thing to
Pretty valid.
consider here is that, I think we've had enough examples over the last few years to really state as a fact the game is not over entering the fourth quarter. It is never over. And a team that kind of takes the foot off the gas, like Green Bay kind of did, they only scored once in the whole second half. The Rams do a similar thing, right? When that happens, you're giving the other team an opportunity to play fundamentally sound football, play clutch, and create plays and win the game. And that's what the Bears have done consistently all year. Anytime they've found themselves down, they've been able to claw back for pretty much every game, So yeah, I think admiring the clutch ability at this point, especially after winning a playoff game in the way that they did on Saturday against Green Bay. I get it, you're in Soldier and whatever, but yeah, just a really, really good win. Really nice come from behind victory. Great first playoff experience for Caleb and for Ben Johnson, as far as the head coaching realm is concerned for him. But of course, the concern is defense. But I really
we also talked about how the Bears looked so much more put together than the Lions have in the playoffs. The Lions have had some extremely bad defensive looks in the playoffs over the last couple of years and have had some really big fundamental mistakes in the run game and just not making their assignments. You didn't see any of that from the Bears last week.
Yeah, and maybe that has a lot to do with just being more focused organizationally. I think it helps a lot when you feel like you've had the quarterback and then you come in, get a coach to complement that quarterback or complement those players in general, not just the quarterback. They had DeAndre Swift a year ago. They had Rome Odunze already. They had DJ Moore from that trade with Carolina. So you have a bunch of pieces in place, and then you come in and acquire a highly sought out coach that had a lot of suitors in NFL teams during that circuit, but he complements these pieces very well. Then he comes in and gets a Luther Burden in the draft, who has come in very clutch down the stretch of the season, as we kind of expected. Maybe he doesn't get much playing time early on, but down the stretch he's playing really well. And same thing with Colston Loveland. Not much play time early on, but now that he's getting into up to NFL speed, basically. I mean, we're seeing some fantastic plays from these pass catchers, and so I think just the focus.
Was it the Bengals week where Colston Loveland just went absolutely crazy in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, the game-winning touchdown as well was his. So I just think organizationally they're more focused right now than the Lions were. Where while the Lions' build was commendable and something that everyone around the NFL could appreciate, it lacked that foundational focus, I think, at the beginning. And of course, Dan Campbell, I think we can say is pretty overrated at this point. Just not quite the best feel for the game and way too over aggressive in situations that just do not warrant
too much.
It, plain and simple.
Too much.
And the injuries, don't help either on defense.
Dan Campbell plays football like we play Madden, and it's infuriating. It feels like he takes football with less seriousness than other coaches do. And I know that sounds ironic as the guy who is telling his players to bite kneecaps off, but it feels like he takes football in a theatrical way, like a theatrically serious way, rather than a actually bare bones know the fundamentals of football and learning the game kind of way. And I know that's probably not how he is as a person, but that's just the way that it comes across on his team.
I actually have the opposite effect. I understand what you're going for, but I think that it's really, he has such a belief in his own philosophies and his own roster being able to execute those philosophies that he has become deluded into it, where it becomes just an Ouroboros of mid. I don't know how else to put it, but that's how it feels like to me. Like,
so Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, actually.
Okay. He would not get. Dan Campbell's not going to get fired. I don't see Dan Campbell getting fired in any situation just because it's the Lions.
I think if they have a bad season next season, you could see him getting fired.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's not because they don't like him or anything like that, and it's not because they've had the greatest success in the Super Bowl era.
That'd be funny though if they just in their press release, we just really didn't like Dan Campbell.
yeah, it just kind of
really,
fucking.
Dan
sucked.
Campbell's never really a Detroit kind of guy. Yeah, he just wasn't on.
I mean, God,
I wouldn't be out on this.
Go ahead.
I wouldn't be out on this team next year, though. I think once they get healthy, add depth to the O-line, I think they can get back on track. And
Maybe.
assuming they
I'm
get
out on the Lions for sure. Their quarterback is not an NFL Super Bowl quarterback.
I think it would require like a Mike McDaniel coming in and being the offensive coordinator for me to buy in.
I was about to say, assuming they get a new decent OC, and I think
they need an OC. And they will go out and get an OC because Dan Campbell was awful calling plays. I don't care what anyone says. I watched those games. He was really, really bad. In spite of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta and Jameson Williams all being fantastic. He was bad. So they will, of course, hire an offensive coordinator to reel him in and give the offensive focus like they have in Chicago, like they had in Detroit before Ben Johnson left, and Mike McDaniel might be the perfect fit for that, with that kind of roster construction. But I don't.
Unfortunately for them,
right? Wait,
they
question.
Mike
so
McDaniel's
what were the job openings last year?
One at a time.
Like the year. What were the job openings the year before last year? When Ben Johnson was originally, because it was when the Saints fired. No, the Saints kept Dennis Allen. And I wanted us to fire Dennis Allen to get Ben Johnson.
But
Vegas, Ben Johnson didn't leave the Lions.
Vegas, Los Angeles Chargers, New England. Those three 100% I remember. Seattle. Who else? Those four for sure. Not Houston. That would have been D'Amico's second year. Tennessee.
Yeah, I think that Ben Johnson really played his cards right. I don't think there's a single job you named that's better than what he has with the Bears.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe the Ravens, but I don't think so. The
Panthers really just gave the Bears the free ticket to a dynasty with the trade that they gave them for Bryce Young.
Yeah, they really did. And DJ Moore's not going to be a part of that for very long, but it really helps that when you're first instilling that you have that kind of a receiver to be around and, to coach up the young kids. So.
Oh, yeah. Young kids, yeah.
Yeah, the Bears just did it right. And Ben Johnson, props to you for picking the right team. You clearly were taking your time and thought long and hard about which team you chose to associate with.
I mean, Ryan Poles, well done.
I wish it would have been New Orleans.
I think that's an underrated GM job at this point, that you're looking at it.
Absolutely. I mean, I was shitting on a lot of their picks. I was not a Gervin Dexter fan at all, and he's balled out in the running game.
Yeah. Kyle Monangai. Big time, right?
I had Monangai preseason. I was on the Monangai train.
3 really impressive rookies at the skill positions in Chicago. I think that just showcases how instrumental Ben Johnson is to developing these players.
He knows what he needs.
Yeah. Yeah. Assessing talent and then developing that talent. Okay. Anything else we want to talk about with the Green Bay Chicago game? Anything on Green Bay's side? We talked a little bit about the coaching thing.
They fought harder than I thought they would, which is funny to say because they kind of gave up in the fourth quarter. But I didn't expect them to be in this game as much as they were.
Yeah.
So I was impressed with the start, but it's same old Packers with the finish. I'm not going to lie.
I agree.
This has been a team that has continued to flounder. First half success and the second half, and at some point you gotta look at the coach to figure it the fuck out, and he just hasn't over nearly 7 years now.
I think
right
so.
with LaFleur.
7 or 8, yeah.
And you've had and you've had top 10 quarterback play. Not objectively, but if we're talking about statistically, top 10 quarterback play for all 7 years.
Good enough.
You've
Top
had
10
good
production.
defenses.
Yeah.
You've had good defenses all 7 years. You need to have the playoff success to back it up, dude. At some point, your GM, like the Packers have put out NFL Super Bowl rosters for the past few years now. You got to do something with it.
And look, guess who's my GM now?
Yeah. It's a.
I'm pretty happy about the hire.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy about it. On more stuff about the Packers, I think Jeff Hadley deserves to be a head coach next year. I think that was probably the brightest spot with Green Bay.
Oh, also, yeah, Jeff Hadley was a great hire. Everyone who was making fun of the hire when he was the Boston College head coach coming up, and they're like, and the Packers had just had that defensive,
I remember that.
Horrible
Yep.
year. And Jeff Hadley had a horrible defense in college that year, and everyone's like, "Why are you hiring this guy?" Clearly, it's a fucking talent issue if you're coaching at Boston College. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And then immediately he goes and gets one of the best pass rushers in the NFL in Micah Parsons. Immediately.
And even after he gets hurt, the defense is still very, very decent. So
yeah, I mean they played.
Yeah,
played
Hadley's
well
done
enough.
a great job.
yeah, and I more on that note, Anthony, he would be my third, and Shula like fourth. You asked me about my candidates earlier, so yeah, I would be pretty happy with any of those.
Okay. I guess my quick thoughts. Yeah, you guys are right. I agree with you guys on the defensive aspect of this, and they played well enough. Some really bizarre fluky plays in this game that actually didn't go the Bears' way, which is really surprising, and that was kind of like leading me to believe, wow, they're actually not going to be able to come back. Like, I feel like there was this stereotypical, they're going to kick a field goal to keep themselves in this to end the half. Oh, there you go. There's a fumble right there. And it goes out of bounds. The dude literally jumped on top of it and didn't come down with it. So there were really fluky stuff that went against Chicago. And I'm like, man, they're actually going to get upset here. And then San Francisco's going to have to go play LA. Like that kind of sucks, you know?
Right.
But then, the clutch ability, but Green Bay taking the foot off the gas on the offensive side. Part of the problem is that they have not been able to get the run game going recently. I think part of it might be a play calling thing, but the other part of it is this: Josh Jacobs has been banged up and not very good this year. They don't really have anyone behind him that is necessarily capable of carrying that run game, which is kind of weird because I feel like with how much time Jacobs has missed this year, you would have expected like one of those guys to get a bigger role down the stretch of the season and really make this a two running back.
It's weird because all of them have good per carry numbers.
Yeah, but like you agree with me, right? Like none of the run game, just looking at the game, nothing in the rushing attack moves the needle for me, even if they have on the surface.
Matt LaFleur abandoned the run. Big shocker.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me tell you.
And the other thing too, like Jordan Love was fine in this game. I think Jordan Love's career has been summarized by, if you are really high on Jordan Love and love Jordan Love so much, you think that this is an elite performance from him. Like he could have done nothing better. But if you've always been lukewarm or even, negative generally on Jordan Love, you walk away from this game thinking he played fine and played okay enough to win the game. And that's kind of how I walk away from this. He played fine. He had some good throws. He had some other bad misses, I thought. And some of the just slow to process the field.
Right? That's just experience.
Yes, but he's been here before. He beat Dallas a couple years ago. I don't know. I don't know really what it is, but he's just not it for me at this stage.
Do you think it has to do with the fact that nobody else in the history of the NFL throws a football like he does?
It's truly generational in that regard. 100%, yeah.
Not even funny. Yeah.
For better or worse, he throws it unique.
Yeah.
He definitely does.
Better and worse, frankly, because
sometimes
it works.
Throw it off his back foot so much.
Yeah, sometimes the what the fuckery of it just works out.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't turn the ball over that much, so I guess there's some positive to the mechanics, but God, it drives me insane. I would not start a franchise with him just because I couldn't watch him throw the ball.
The decision making is surprisingly solid for how goofy he looks.
Yeah, I mean, last year the decision making wasn't very good, especially early in the season. But this year, yeah, he's done a fine job with the decision making. Just misses throws and sometimes turns down a riskier throw that would have been successful because he's mistake averse. Which, if you play mistake averse and conservative the whole time, yeah, you're not going to win a playoff game. It all writes itself out. And I think that is what the moral of Super Wildcard Weekend was. And Jacob and I got carried away with the upset against New England. I felt like even though we were very clearly wrong and they got their asses handed to them in that game, I still believe that there's a world
it was a winnable game for the Chargers
where the matchup did work, or it should have worked. Like, you could look at that game and see that it should have worked. New England was not running the ball nearly as much as they should, and that's something that we've said all year long. They were getting good averages on the ground, and especially with Ramondre Stevenson. And they just were so insistent on throwing the ball, and it's tough to throw on the Chargers secondary. It just kind of is. Up until the very end of the game, when, because the Chargers defense was on the field for like 40 minutes, they're gassed. No wonder, and finally, New England scores a touchdown when that happens. But it really comes down to Greg Roman horribly called game, and we have criticized Greg Roman a lot this season, and when he was with Baltimore as well as the offensive play caller. So horribly called game.
Nothing new, really.
But Justin Herbert, man, was terrible.
I mean, you have offensive coordinators who get one season as the offensive coordinator of the Browns, and that's their only go. We get Greg Roman, who gets multiple years with Lamar Jackson and now Justin Herbert, and he continues to suck ass. And it's just like, why?
It's confusing. And I want to know you guys' thoughts on Herbert's performance, because I thought he was absolutely dreadful in this game.
I mean, his O-line was horrible. He literally had one drop back in the entire game where he didn't get pressured. So at some point we got to... yes, he was holding on to the ball for bad decisions. I do also think that it's likely that his receivers were probably not getting open. I mean, Keenan Allen doesn't exactly have any explosivity to him. Quentin Johnston's not exactly a guy who we can deem as reliable.
Yeah, he's not a separator.
And we have Ladd McConkey, but they haven't been incorporating Ladd McConkey. And that's a huge thing that we can criticize Greg Roman for. Where the fuck is Ladd McConkey? Why is he not a part of this team? He was amazing as a rookie. That doesn't just go away. You bring in a 40-year-old Keenan Allen, and now you can't throw to your amazing fucking sophomore receiver? Why?
Right.
That's why you couldn't move the ball, because the one guy who could probably get this offense going wasn't incorporated. You probably couldn't get to Quentin Johnston. You probably couldn't get to Keenan Allen. Those guys were probably fucking covered. I guarantee you Christian Gonzalez was probably on their ass, and your run game wasn't doing it. And when it was, you weren't relying on it. And so, yeah, this is 100% on Greg Roman.
Yeah. I agree the line was not good, but I thought they actually played a little bit better than I was kind of expecting for this game, especially based on who they have to play opposite with that defense. But man, I could not count on both hands how many times Herbert left a clean pocket to turn down an open receiver to walk into pressure.
He was
basically
always looking for extra.
It felt like where Jordan Love was not taking any risks and not going downfield enough, and he was just being that risk averse conservative player. Justin Herbert was. And he wasn't even throwing the ball, though. That's the problem. Like, if you're going to go for that ball, you need to throw it. You need to not just stand around.
Yeah.
And so I think it is a synergy of bad. The offensive line being undermanned as it is and not playing well, like I said. But Herbert was just walking into sacks, stepping into pressure, turning down open receivers at least 10 times in the game. I could point to you to a play that says, this guy is open. It is clearly, he is watching that side of the field, because usually that's how it works. You have one side for a read, depending on the certain coverage that the defense is running, that you expect the defense is running. And he's just staring at him and not throwing the ball, then stepping out of the box, out of the pocket, and generating his own pressure. And Jalen Hurts was doing that too, against a team in the 49ers that can't generate a pass rush. Part of the reason the Eagles lost. Jalen Hurts was stepping on a clean pockets.
Was it just me, or was it like emphasized for Herbert to run in this game?
It felt like
How many carries did he end up having? I feel like he was running the entire time.
Yeah, so let's see. I did pull up the box score here. He threw the ball 31 times. He had 10 carries. Kamani Vidal had 11. He nearly tied his lead back for the most carries on the team.
Yeah, I felt like he was running the entire time when I was watching that game. It was gross.
And I think that lends itself more to a play calling issue, because what he's probably seeing is, oh shit, there is nothing over here. There is nothing on the field. I can't get to my third and fourth in time because I need to get rid of the ball, so I just need to bail, you know? So there was that element as well. And of course, that is just again, all three elements working against each other. Herbert not seeing an open receiver or choosing not to throw, the offensive line not giving him enough time, and then Greg Roman calling a bad play.
Yep.
So I'm glad that you think similarly as I do, because if I say anything negative about Herbert, I'll just come out as a salty Dolphins fan. I can separate the bias and the...
Dude, some of the Twitter that was defending Herbert is so fucking blasphemous.
I mean, there comes a point, right, where you have seen enough and you just need more. You just need more, you know? And I saw this clip of us talking about Kurt Benkurt's way too early 2025 quarterback ranking list from, you know, right after the Super Bowl last year. And he had Herbert play 6th. And we all unanimously agreed that's is like his absolute ceiling is number 6. Like, to project to number 6 when that, like, you're putting him ahead of a guy like Stafford. And we all also said that Stafford was too high on that list as well. So that aged really poorly. But, you know, like, that's what I mean.
I remember that.
I just don't really get it. You know, we can play hypotheticals all we want, and a lot of times it actually has a weight to it. Like when his receivers actually drop the ball in a clutch moment against the Texans. But in a game like this, there's no hypothetical to play. It was just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at some point, we all got to talk about quarterbacks. And yes, the quarterback play has gone down, but at what point is replaceable achievably replaceable? Because yes, quarterback play has gotten down a lot, but realistically, what can these teams do to get out of their bad quarterback situations? Is it something that the quarterback can develop out of, or is it just how can they replace their quarterback? Because obviously there's a lot of quarterback talents coming up in the college ranks, but from my perspective, if we have all this quarterback talent and the quarterback play is actually going down, are quarterbacks actually replaceable, or are those replaceable quarterbacks not as good as we think they are?
That is a really interesting discussion. And maybe one that warrants its own segment in the off-season at some point. So that way we're all better researched and we can really put, you know, developed thoughts into it and have a really thoughtful discussion about it. So write that down, or if you want, I can write it down so we can table that for the future, because I think that's a really interesting discussion to have.
I completely agree. Interesting. Replaceable quarterbacks.
You know, we already had a talk about the decline of the position overall, but of course that was just one little segment where we were shooting the shit about it on the show. Yeah. But, you know, maybe a fully dedicated episode where we go in depth with, you know, tape or even stats. Could be a lot.
I think we should also put quarterbacks in the categories of replaceable. Quarterbacks that don't have jobs right now that we think should have jobs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun discussion.
For sure, yeah. Especially when you look at Phillip Rivers, and, you know, he played pretty okay for not having played football for 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he didn't have the arm strength.
If he could put a zip on a ball, he would still be starting.
I think so, too. Like, he didn't have the strength. that was very evident. But the mind, and I think that's where a lot of the...
Even the processing was fine.
Yeah, exactly.
He wasn't slow in the processing. He got through his reads better than most quarterbacks do today.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Stay tuned for in the offseason for when we do that discussion.
Yeah.
You should already be
That'll be
subbed
fun.
anyway. I mean, this is the best podcast you've ever heard of.
Oh yeah, and the Noti Bell.
You've heard of at this point, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you guys have heard of us for sure.
So we've talked about the Patriots Chargers now. We have 2 games remaining. We have the biggest blowout, which we all expected, kind of. And then my Niners being victorious over the Eagles there.
The Texans won by 30, and they should have won by 60. That's genuinely the only takeaway you can have from that game, because the amount of stuff that went against them in the first half, and for them to still win by 30,
Yeah,
the fact that
Stroud
Tomlin
is a
had a
fraud.
job to quit is blasphemous. Like, the embarrassment that you should feel when your team has gone into the playoffs the last 3 years and they put up 6 points in this one, lose by 30, and before that it was putting up or letting the Browns put up 40 against you. Like,
Yeah.
This has been your legacy in the playoffs, and you haven't fired your coach yet?
Yeah,
Crazy.
it's like the Dodgers when they wouldn't let go of Don Mattingly, even though they would go to the playoffs but do nothing in the playoffs. So then finally they moved on and hired Dave Roberts, and they winning a couple World Series now with Dave Roberts. So yeah, it's very similar in that way, I think. So maybe I'm not saying that the Steelers are going to go win Super Bowls now. That is not the point I was trying to make. But yeah, just like
Wait, now that the Steelers' job is open, where do they put on the rankings? Are they like right below the Cardinals, or not below the Cardinals? You have the Cardinals at the bottom.
The number of points.
They'd be like 5th or 6th for me, I think.
they're right
They're
in
pretty
the
low.
they're right at the Dolphins spot.
I was
for
about
me.
to say they're Dolphins.
I pinned the
I think that's a
Dolphins-
good spot to have them.
I pinned the Dolphins 4th last week because we were just projecting whether... It's funny that we did that because McDaniel wasn't fired yet, but we had the foresight to still rank Miami in our in our list, which was pretty
Well,
cool.
at the time, we knew that Harbaugh had received more calls than there were jobs available, and that kind of
Yeah.
made it clear that they were firing McDaniel.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. But yeah, so I think tied for 4th with Miami makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing really to say about that outside of man, I'm kind of out on Houston a little bit. I think that their path to the Super Bowl still is pretty straightforward, but it hinges so much on whether they can even score enough points. And they were fortunate enough on defense to have 2 touchdowns on turnovers, but they're just not going to get that against a clean team like New England or against, I mean, maybe they could do it against Denver, but probably not Buffalo either. I mean, though they sacked Josh Allen 8 times in the regular season, but that's also the regular season. Josh Allen is unreal right now. My hang up all year has been CJ Stroud, and he played relatively well down the stretch. He finally was figuring stuff out after the concussion, but that game, it was just beyond sloppy, in my opinion. Just beyond
errors
sloppy.
that he made were unacceptable.
That interception was, and the fumbles were really bad, but that interception was
5
just
fumbles
terrible.
in a playoff game. You
Yeah.
had 5 fumbles and you won by 30.
Well, I think 2 of them
That
were
just
lost,
shows
right?
how good the
I think there were 2 lost fumbles, but 5 in total, I think is what the...
yeah.
But, yeah, so that's obviously really bad. But the fucking... Where's the game? Oh, there it is. That interception, man, was brutal. You're in the red zone. You are a quarterback. You should be able to step up in the pocket when it's collapsing behind you. You need to step up and deliver a strike to your receiver that's running a crosser. And he throws it blatantly behind him. And it's easy, like an easy interception for the DB. And that was just so bad. There were just a number of other plays similar to that throughout this game where he's just blatantly inaccurate. And it's something that I've talked about since last season. Like, this is not a very accurate quarterback. If he can get it in the vicinity of the receiver, more than likely it's catchable because he throws a catchable ball. And that's what's good about his game is he throws a catchable ball, but he needs to actually get it into a certain window for that to happen. And he just didn't do it. There's a reason that this game was 7-6 for forever. Was not going to say it the other way. But yeah, so yeah, I want to be in because the defense is that unreal, but I don't think that they could pull off 2 or 3 straight games of similar output and production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, what else do you expect going forward?
There are 2 possible outcomes with the Texans team right now, and the most likely outcome is it's same old Texans. They lose in the divisional round, and they had a good 11 or 12 win season, and we move on and forget about them, and nothing memorable happens. The other possibility is we get documentaries written about how C.J. Stroud nutted the fuck up and went on a legendary playoff run after having the most hilarious clown performance against the Steelers in the wild card round.
Yeah.
Now, me personally, I'm one to buy into the most likely option just because I like to believe in things that have already happened. But I also think that the coolest possible outcome here is that CJ Stroud just goes in there and fucks up the competition en route to a Super Bowl for the Texans. And that's personally the thing that I think would make this Super Bowl the most fun for me. So I'm going to go ahead and buy in blindly on this Texans team and just hope that CJ Stroud figures it the fuck out. Hey. Just because I think the aura of this Texans team could go so hard. Because this defense is so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you. The defense is capable of winning a championship. It's just, can the offense play its part the way it's supposed to? And that will remain to be seen. I think it's a very winnable game against New England, but again, then you're asking yourself if they can win that game in advance, do they have it in them to do it against Denver and or Buffalo? And then do they have it again in them to do it against a Seattle or an LA or a Chicago or a San Francisco, I just don't know. We'll see. Or we won't see. To be or not to be, that is the question.
To aura or to not aura?
Did you guys know that Woody Marks' name was Jaquavius or Jaquavius Marks? I had no clue until...
Jaquavius Marks? That's so goated.
Until looking at the stat sheet here, but yeah, that's a... Hey, you should go with that. Why are you going with Woody?
Didn't he get the nickname Woody from just being a fan of Toy Story?
I have no clue. I don't know.
I'm fairly certain it was literally that simple, is that he was just a huge fan of Woody growing up.
Hey, based. I'm in. Never mind. Good name. Good nickname.
We're big Toy Story advocates here on the Coast to Coast podcast.
Yeah. All right, let's address the elephant in the room here.
Hey, that got a laugh for the live studio audience.
I laughed a lot more, but I'm going to be quiet.
Oh, good.
All right, I want to get your guys' thoughts on the Niners-Eagles before I talk about it for about 5 minutes. So go ahead.
You go first.
I didn't watch this game, unfortunately, because our TVs at work were out, which is super cringe because I was really looking forward to this game because the bartender is my best friend at work, and he is a Eagles fly to the most annoying extent. And I was cheering for the Niners this entire game, and so when I saw that Brock Purdy was balling out on my phone, it was really upsetting that I couldn't rub it in his face on the TV.
Yeah, it was an exciting one, man. My bowels were quaking after. I was shrieking anytime a big play happened.
Is Brock Purdy committing the second largest carry job in the league right now, other than Josh Allen?
Brock. Okay, Vitor, you talk first. I'm gonna be on my soapbox for a little bit.
Yeah, I think we gotta remove the game manager label from him because he clearly
Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I mean, he clearly makes his team better. I mean, with the injuries, and this is the thing that I think of when we talk about Herbert. Right, at some point we have to get accountability. Right, nothing is going Brock's way. Like this is when the guy pulls the responsibility on him and he wins the games. Herbert's been in the league for a while. He's a veteran. He's not a young quarterback anymore. He's on a contract. He gets paid a lot of money, right? And yet he can't figure it out, right? Mm-hmm. So That's where I give Brock a lot of credit because he's the one making this a reality. It wouldn't be how it is if Brock wasn't doing that. So I'm a big fan of his. I think he deserves a lot of more credit. I don't know. Maybe it's because his build is not crazy. Like, he's not an attractive quarterback to look at. Maybe it's where he was drafted. But the guy clearly balls. Like, he's clearly the system. So obviously Shanahan is a big help. I think Shanahan should win Coach of the Year. So I think Brock and Shanahan are the ones making that work with all the injuries down there. But at some point we gotta stop saying it's just Shanahan and say maybe Brock has a little bit of credit. So I give him a ton of credit.
I fully agree. And to be honest with you, I think something that gets lost when looking at the 49ers here and when evaluating Brock Purdy, and to all the idiots who are still not sold on Brock Purdy, Brock Purdy's 2 playoff losses. Let me provide context because you guys are clearly lacking it if you are hating on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's 2 playoff losses, he had a torn UCL in the first drive against the Philadelphia Eagles, who would go on to get robbed in the Super Bowl. And then his other playoff loss is in the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs, and he last played in that game by going and scoring in overtime, and then his team continued to lose in overtime. And during that game, he never left the field without the lead. That is the context to the quarterback who you are calling a game manager, effectively. He cannot lose in the playoffs other than an injury and his defense. Those are the 2 times. So before you hate on Brock Purdy, he hasn't lost an NFL playoff game. He hasn't. His team has. He has not.
Yeah, well said. This was a like a landmark milestone game as well for him and for his career accolades and everything. This is his first road win in the playoffs. Of course, the first Philly game was in Philadelphia, didn't finish the game, and then the Super Bowl neutral field. But outside of that, it's been at home. And so this was a nice test to see how he could work and operate within a playoff environment on the road, and he was capable of doing it. And then the other one, I think he is now tied with Patrick Mahomes for the most game-winning drives in the postseason. That's something.
That's saying something.
With 4 so far, and five playoff wins, 4 game-winning drives.
Josh Allen doesn't have that, does he? He doesn't have that.
No, Josh Allen does not have that. You know who does? Brock the man Purdy.
Yeah, but how you can't be a game manager with that amount of game-winning drives.
He already...
not all of us can just get Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, he already has... he's either tied with Stafford or has one more playoff win than Stafford already. And, of course, that could change in this postseason, depending on how these teams do moving forward.
Yep.
But yeah, like that. This is a huge game for a lot of those reasons, and it was a huge game as well because I feel like so much of the media talked about Shanahan being a Coach of the Year favorite, or these AP voters saying he's got my vote, he's got my vote, he's got my vote, and then now we're like, I feel like the conversation flipped, and it became a Nick Sirianni might be better than Kyle Shanahan. Like, what are we doing? Or this coaching staff in general is better. What are we doing? Haven't Eagle fans been crying to fire Kevin Patullo the entire season, and it finally happened? And
actually, speaking on the Kevin Patullo firing, Brett Coleman made an absolutely outrageous tweet about the Kevin Patullo firing. Did you see it, Anthony?
Yeah, I did. That was something.
I don't know if it's technically speaking political, but let me pull it up real quick. It was so funny though.
While you search it up, I'm going to keep talking.
Yeah, go for it.
So, and the game was not perfect either. Like, it was messy. The 2 interceptions were bad interceptions, and I can 100% attest to that. One was just a bad read. He looked off an open receiver, threw it into coverage, and Quinyon Mitchell's there to make a play. And second one, I think Tonjes is NFL open if you hit him ahead, but the throw was a little bit behind and underthrown, and it lands in the hands of Mitchell again. And so those were tough turnovers, but what I've appreciated about him all year, and it's happened in multiple occasions, like the Panthers game, for example, which they still went on to win, where he can have multiple mistakes in a game, but it doesn't alter his confidence level, and it doesn't alter what he wants to do later on, really, in the play style, at least from him. Maybe it alters Shanahan's playbook, which we kind of saw a little bit in the Panthers game, where they were more run oriented, not in a more dink and dunk offense, but just continuing to stay aggressive and continuing to take risks. And what we've talked about a lot this wildcard weekend so far is the quarterbacks that were more risk averse, like Jordan Love, lost their game in the end. And the quarterback that was taking some risks and being relatively reasonable and having a huge first throw to Demarcus Robinson to set the tone. I couldn't believe that was a house call, by the way. He had one guy to beat, and he made him miss. I think it was Blankenship as the last DB. All he has to do is run a straight line to the end zone, and he didn't do it. And I was so confused and a little upset after screaming, jumping for joy in my seat, watching that happen. But he ended up, of course, getting the touchdown anyway on that drive. But then Kyle Shanahan with just a brilliant play call in a brilliant situation. The Sky Moore end around flip to Jawan Jennings on the throw to Christian McCaffrey for that touchdown. Again, just to take the air out of the stadium and to have a player like Jawan Jennings, that obviously a former quarterback, actually a higher graded recruit than Joe Burrow at the time, which is fucking crazy. And now he's turned receiver, but just the ability to do something like that and to take a hit as well on that throw. Just what a fucking dog, man. I can't believe he's on my team. I love Jawan Jennings. Keep embracing that villain role.
Jawan Jennings, the video of him cussing out, who was it? Who did he cuss out? Name your receivers right now, Anthony. Name the receivers on the Niners.
Right now, Sky Moore, Demarcus Robinson, Ricky Pearsall, fucking Miles Turner got snaps in this game. It was fucking crazy. Hadn't heard his name since 2021. Kendrick Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne got his fucking ass chewed by Jawan Jennings because he was not set in the right spot, and you guys had to call a timeout late in the game when it mattered. Oh my God, Jawan Jennings, the aura that he has on the Niners right now as a guy who fucking knows his offense. Oh my God, dude. No one knows the offense better than Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, and Jawan fucking Jennings, because that guy knew where that receiver was supposed to be, and he was pissed about it.
Yeah, that was an amusing moment after the fact, of course.
Also, found the tweet. It wasn't necessarily. Sorry, real quick. It wasn't the tweet that you made about the Kevin Petullo firing.
What's happening over there?
My mom is retarded, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, don't say that.
My goodness.
All right, Jacob. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So it wasn't the Kevin Petullo tweet. They were recording when Kevin Petullo got fired, and they started celebrating it. These are Houston Texans fans Houston Texans and Chicago Bears fans cheering in celebration of Kevin Petullo being fired. And some Eagles fan reposted and said, "This is how bad we had it on our offense." But no, the Brett Coleman tweet that I have found is the news of Oregon quarterback Dante Moore deciding to go back to school. He tweeted out, "Raiders fans must feel like they caught the last chopper out of Nam right now."
Oh God. Wow. That's really funny. That's really funny.
That is so fucking peak.
Funny enough that you mentioned Brett Coleman right now, because Brett Coleman, going into the season when they did their bootleg football segment of the 49ers, the title and his whole theme for the episode was Brock Purdy is the system. He's not just a system quarterback. He is the system. And I think, obviously, Mac Jones played really well in this system, and he's just a more limited Brock Purdy, I think, at this point in his career. But, how can you not look at a game like this where he can stay poised after two interceptions, down 6 points entering the fourth quarter, and continuing to make plays and getting a game-winning drive with less than 5 minutes to go. And the defense really, really stepped up in some really remarkable ways in this game. Garrett Wallow and Eric Kendricks, who were not on this roster a month ago.
Yeah, Robert Saleh is a Dolphin
linebacker.
too, by the way.
That is just unbelievable, man. Unbelievable linebacker play. And this was supposed to be the weakness of the team. And here it is in a wildcard game against the Eagles with two guys that were, again, not rostered a month ago. And they're the strength of the defense. It was unbelievable to watch. It feels like, and I have both criticized and praised D. Winters and Tatum Bethune throughout the season because they've had good and bad games. But it's strange that these two guys had a better feel and a better understanding of the defensive expectation of them than the other two guys that have been around for a while. That was strange to me, but I mean, I'll fucking take it, and now Fred Warner might come back, which is just unbelievable, unreal. Never heard of something like this happen where you break your ankle in week 6 and 3 months later during the playoffs, you're ready to go. That's crazy.
Insane.
But yeah, I think just the reason it's not a Brock Purdy carry job is because he does still have McCaffrey. And McCaffrey, I think, this is another game where we can just point to, this is an unreal talent of football in general. We really have not seen a player be this good for this long doing what exactly he does ever, I don't think. And that's something really remarkable, but also the coaching job. This is easily the best coaching staff that the Niners have had under the Shanahan regime, with him, with Robert Saleh coming back as the defensive coordinator now with more just more experience, being a head coach for the last 3 years and that not really working out, but now you're back here with all the stuff you learned from that experience. And then our special teams coaching as well has improved so much. It's tough to say that they're a team of destiny because of how battered they are. And of course, George Kittle tears his Achilles in this game, and he's probably not even going to play next season. You might even consider retirement at this point if you're George, because you're already getting up there in age, and it's really unfortunate that happened because he's so well loved and he's just an unreal player. Everyone loves him. But you'd like to say it. You'd like to say they're a team of destiny, but how much more can they take with stuff like this before it just is too much? And it might be too much this week. We'll see.
Now let me tell you this. We saw what Robert Saleh did with Eric Kendricks, which, by the way, Eric Kendricks is my GOAT. I was always a big fan. Imagine him with Jordan Brooks. How about that?
But you didn't list him. You have 4 guys ahead of Saleh.
I have other guys ahead, but I wouldn't be upset with Saleh.
Right,
I think there's some decent options, man. I don't think it's the worst option ever. I think the
I'm
openings are the problem. I don't think the candidates are the issue. I think the openings are the issue.
I'm just going to come out and say it. Saleh shouldn't have been fired in New York. That was a complete botch job.
It was a scapegoat. It
was a scapegoat by the owner, GM, and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, Robert Saleh wanted to, and Aaron Glenn, to be fair to Aaron Glenn as well, but they wanted to hold the quarterback accountable, and the quarterback did not accept that, and that's why he got fired.
That's
Crazy.
Exactly what happened. Yeah.
Anyway, anything else we want to talk about these games before we do our rapid fire NFC and AFC division round picks?
Yeah, I'll just start with the Niners game. Just because of what you mentioned about it being too much, and I do think, unfortunately, it's going to be too much going to the divisional. Now, that's obviously not to say that they can win this game, and if they win this game, I'm actually just going to pick them to win the Super Bowl straight up, because then Fred Warner is coming back, and then Seattle is my Super Bowl favorite. So, I think this is the worst that's ahead of San Francisco, in my opinion. So, very tough game, but it's certainly winnable. If they win it, they are, very menacing.
I think that going into it, this is the best divisional slate of games I've ever seen. I am so beyond hyped for all 4 of these matchups.
They're really well matched. It's actually crazy that this worked out with the seeding, but they all really complement each other.
They're all like 50-50 quality games.
I have just one complaint.
Yeah.
Just one. And I swear I'm not a grumpy old man,
Two
saying
NFC
this.
East teams, or AFC East rather.
Also that. Also that.
Okay.
But the fact that I'm depending on Bo Nix to beat Josh Allen,
And CJ Stroud
or
to beat
else,
Drake May.
or else, I can live with that. I like Houston in that game. I like Houston in that game.
What a crazy world we're living in, where he's okay with Drake May and the New England Patriots.
It's not that I'm okay.
No,
with,
he thinks Houston's
Don't
gonna
twist
win.
my words. Don't twist my words. I just like I like Houston going into that game.
Okay.
I hate the Patriots. I hate Drake May because he's a Patriot. Don't get it twisted. But I dislike the Broncos so much. I dislike Sean Payton so much. I dislike Bo Nix and the Broncos so much. But yet I'm gonna be jumping in joy when they score in that game. I'm so tired of being a Dolphins fan, bro. I want to cheer for my team in the playoffs. Fucking hell, man. Fuck, bro.
You gotta say it
God
louder for the
damn.
people in the back.
God damn it, bro. We should have settled for this, bro. Let me see my team in the playoffs, man.
It'll happen.
But anyway, yeah, fucking hell.
Dude,
Yeah,
I feel very confident that the NFC team is still going to win the Super Bowl. I know we've said that all year, and I feel like a lot of people are wavering on that a bit now, but I still am feeling very solid that it'll be an NFC team.
Look, I mean, on the NFC side, you have 3 Titans and the Giraffe. You never know, the Giraffe
Honestly,
might
I would
win.
consider the Niners a more dangerous team.
It's more like an elephant. You know
Rams
what it's
right now.
gonna do.
The Rams are not looking like a scary team at all right now.
No,
They need
but
to really flip a switch if they're going to go to the Super Bowl.
I agree. But this Bears team, I feel like they're bound to crumble at some point. I feel like there's just too much working out for them.
I feel like it would have
So
happened
I wouldn't be-
already, though, you know? That's my only thing. Like,
I just see
Let's
the
get-
Rams.
Let's just say what our picks are then. I got the Bears winning against the Rams here. Who do you got, Brufy?
No, I got the Bears. But I like how the Rams play. They have a lot of experience in that team. I like McVay a lot. And listen, it's still Ben Johnson's been doing a phenomenal job, but it's still a first year for him. You know, and that team they're riding on a high right now. They're winning games that they maybe shouldn't be winning, or maybe they're making these comebacks. Maybe it gets on their head. I don't know. I'm just saying. Maybe they don't manage the game as well as they should. Maybe they don't manage their emotions as well as they can. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Rams just catch the Bears off guard here. The Rams has been looking shaky. They didn't finish the regular season that well. And yeah, I said it when we talked about the Panthers game. Panthers gave them a lot of competition in that game.
Yeah.
But it's still a very experienced team. So I'm picking the Bears just because how well they've played, and I think Caleb has been shutting me up personally, just by how consistently he's been playing. I think I just don't like teams that depend on comebacks so much. If the Bears come out and pound the Rams, and have a convincing victory, then I'll change my mind on them. But it has to happen.
I agree, but I also feel like the Rams depend on a blowout in the other sense. I mean, when you look at this team, they are the most susceptible team to a comeback right now. Like, I don't see a team in the playoffs that is more susceptible to giving up a comeback than they are at this point in time.
and from that perspective, it's a rough draw that they're playing the Bears, which is the
Right.
most capable of coming back right now as well.
Mm-hmm. Everything is just pointing to the Bears winning this game, and it's not so much the Panthers game that reflects poorly on the Rams. It does, but the Falcons game is really sitting heavy in my mind right now, and the Bears just do not have a performance where they just look like abhorrent dog shit like that, especially this late in the season.
It's very fair.
Yeah, we're all saying this, but we all also believe that these games, like we said, are toss-ups. Like, it wouldn't be crazy to see the Rams go in there and win this game in a convincing fashion, or, if it was close as well, at least in my opinion.
Otherwise, yeah.
But I am leaning Chicago as well. The clutch ability, just the ability to, it feels like even though they don't score on every drive, I mean, they, maybe even barely score on half their drives, but it feels like anytime they need to go down and score points, they do. And in a potential shootout game, that is very dangerous. Bold prediction, I think this game has 80 combined points between the two teams. So that'll be exciting.
That does sound exciting.
But where do we want to go next?
Let's go your Niners.
Let's finish up the NFC side. I'm bleeding red this week. Niners gang, we riding
Bleeding
Brock
red.
Purdy. What can I say? Brock Purdy is an exciting white, and I do enjoy me some white. So I'm gonna join. I'm gonna enjoy some Brock Purdy this week, and hopefully watch him beat.
Whoa.
Hopefully, watch him beat the Seahawks again. He's quite good at that.
Yeah. He has not lost in Seattle. The 2 losses to the Seahawks have come in Levi's. That's number 1. Number 2, since 2003, the 49ers have either missed the playoffs entirely or they have gone to the NFC Championship or better. That's number 2. Number 3, this is a team of destiny, and I've said it last week, I've said it this week. Give me the Niners.
I can't back down from what I said before. I got to put my money where my mouth is. I think it's going to be too much. I said it last week, and obviously I was proven wrong. But with George Kittle now...
tough one.
Yeah,
again,
very tough. So,
again, like, Seattle is projected to win. They
Understandable.
should, but I'm not going to pick against my favorite.
I don't want to say they should win. I think that this is genuinely a 50-50 game, especially the division rivalry puts it that way. I get that they're the 1 seed, but saying that a team should win doesn't necessarily feel right in this sense.
I get you, and I would probably agree, but as far as like strictly betting line purposes, the line is currently 7.5 in favor of Seattle.
That is asinine.
They're
the betting line
favorites.
last week was ridiculous too.
It went from 3-point favorites, Philadelphia, to 4.5 to 6 as the week progressed, based on the injury report.
Which means people were betting that on Philly.
Yeah.
Ew.
Interesting, right?
No wonder the bookies win money. How did I lose so many bets? I don't get it.
Call the hotline.
Where were these lines when I was betting?
Right. All right.
They're trying to pull you back.
Yeah, don't.
Dude, I
don't
know.
go in the light. Don't do it.
Don't give in.
We'll stick with the green.
Yes. All right. Divisional round for the AFC side. First up, the New England Patriots. Actually, it's the Denver Broncos and the Buffalo Bills, if we're counting as far as schedule is concerned. The 1 versus the 6. What do we got?
I got the Buffalo Bills going into Denver and beating that Broncos ass.
Hey, bud. Need to talk.
You know what? I couldn't agree more. It's not going to be belt to ass, but I think Josh Allen just has one extra play.
It won't be belt to ass now.
Josh Allen's just got one extra play. He that was an unreal performance against Jacksonville, really. They're asking him to do everything, and at this point, how do you not believe that he can do everything, So, yeah, give me Buffalo. I actually
Rufy, what are your thoughts on this?
I actually think, real quick, I think that the first round bye for a team like Denver actually is not a benefit for them. They weren't particularly unhealthy, relatively, especially relative to other teams in this playoff picture, not unhealthy. And it feels like their momentum was strongest when they were winning a bunch of these close games all in rapid succession. So maybe I eat my hat on that take, and maybe the rest really does help them. But maybe, just maybe, some of that momentum is lost for this game, and that's the extra step that Buffalo needs to.
Interesting. So, how many times have you guys seen me pick the Bills?
You haven't picked the Bills maybe once this year?
And it was against the Jets, because obviously...
Yeah, you might have picked them twice, actually. They did play the Jets twice this year.
Yeah, little known fact.
Well,
as they do normally.
Yeah.
Let me tell you guys something. Unfortunately, there's a first for everything.
Oh, yeah?
Unfortunately, there's a first for everything. I can't really pick the Broncos. I just can't allow myself to do it.
He can't find it in his heart to pick
I just can't. I am not a fan I can't, bro. I can't. I hate this Bills team so
Vitor,
much, but I can't see.
Just picture Bo Nix in a conference championship. Picture it.
He probably looks so scared, bro. I don't know.
That is a little bit crazy. All right, Tyler, I'll let you get one question in. How do you think?
What about two?
No, one.
Fuck you.
Okay, not at all then.
Yeah.
Respected Coastal's ball hosts.
All right, you get one question.
Okay.
How do you think Bo Nix would look walking into the AFC Championship?
How many words do I get?
Just answer the question.
But,
You think he's walking in there with confidence, or you think he's getting shaken up?
okay, honestly, I think he would be. He has some style and flair, confidence, you know.
Man, fuck no, man.
He's a hot
That boy has no aura, man.
He's low-key gonna be pouring sweat, like bottom line, but I think he can pull it off.
He said he's low-key going to be pouring sweat bottom line, but
He has
might
no
pull it
aura,
off.
bro. What did I say? He's gonna be looking nervous as
It's
shit.
like the fucking that
Dude
one
got
quarterback.
exiled out of the SEC.
Like that one quarterback that was
Bo has
his hands
aura
were
as a
shaking
white
before taking
man.
a snap and in the college football last year.
Man, that boy has no aura.
All right. Last
okay,
game. Houston, New England. In New England, what do we got?
I got the Texans.
I said it before. I'm riding with the Texans aura. I just think Texans versus Bears is a really, really fun Super Bowl. It's a really fun Super Bowl. It was a boring matchup early in the year. I think it's a fun matchup now.
I can definitely get behind it.
Okay, so you both are picking the Texans. Man, part of me, I think I also had the Texans going to the AFC Championship last week, or maybe
You're switching it to the Pats now, though.
I don't know if I am though. Like, this is the problem. I think this is actually the toughest game for me to pick in this round, because part of that dominant win against the Chargers really convinces me that New England can legitimately do this. Like, do this, I mean, make it to the Super Bowl and win. But part of me as well is still thinking about not sticking with the run when it's working and being unnecessarily inconsistent and making things just that much harder for you. And they struggled enough to score a touchdown on the Chargers defense. I just don't know if the Houston offense is going to be 3-and-out, 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 3-and-out like the Chargers are. Maybe Stroud commits more turnovers than Herbert did. I don't think Herbert committed a single one. But it's just such a tough game. It's such a fucking tough game. I'm going to stick with my gut, which is telling me Houston, because that's what I had last week. So give me Houston.
I like that sound logic.
I only picked the teams that I think will win. If I were to pick the teams that I want to win, I would go 49ers, Bears, Texans, Denver. How about that?
I think if I was thinking rationally, I would switch my pick to the Patriots.
Here I am giving a rational explanation for either team. And you really, do you think there's a rational explanation for Houston, or are you just riding with vibes?
Yeah, you're just doing it.
I like I said, I'm really just thinking that I really want CJ Stroud to just wake up and be him this year.
Right.
I want him to figure it the fuck out. I want him to wake up and just make a movie, bro.
A movie?
Yeah, it would be a movie. ESPN 30 for 30 is all over it. You think, whoever wins the Super Bowl this year could be a 30 for 30? The 49ers, unbelievable injury luck, uphill battle the whole way on the road, and then Super Bowl
If it's
at
any
home.
of the four that we picked, yes.
You don't think?
Guaranteed,
Okay.
Yes. For any of the four that we picked.
I'm gonna-
Any of the other four, no.
I'm going to make the case for
Maybe
all of them.
Broncos.
I'm going to make the case for all of them. Seattle, Sam Darnold has had the same concerns. Like, can you actually put a competent playoff game together after last season? It's a new team, career, not gone so well so far. Now he's here and he's, got a big Baker Mayfield contract and, 1 seed, could be just dominant all the way through with this defense.
Still feels Trent Dilfer more so than it does feel like deserved.
Okay, fair. LA Rams, this is the Stafford legacy season. He wins an MVP. He wins the Super Bowl. He retires, rides off in the sunset, just like Peyton Manning did.
All you had to say was LA media bias.
Yeah, fair enough. There you go. And then Chicago, first-year head coach Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, who, started his final year in college, potentially a generational talent, struggled, and other controversies arise that were really unfounded and weird. But here he is now after being a first overall pick and doubted again in the NFL level. Second season, really breaks out. I could see that, Houston.
Yeah, watching that one day it releases.
Yeah, Houston. Generational defense. Unbelievable. Depending on the matchup as well, Houston becomes super compelling. Like if it is San Francisco,
showing you don't need an elite quarterback to win.
Let's just throw that out there. Maybe that is in play, or just an elite offense in general. Like the offensive line's not very good, the run game, So I could see that. New England. This is the guy after Tom Brady, and he pulls it off. This is ring number 7 for this franchise. Mike Vrabel, first-year head coach as well, at least for this team, right? I could see that. Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen finally gets it done. Even, he had a wide open picture.
That's the worst outcome. Fuck that.
Wide open picture. No Mahomes, no Burrow, no Lamar. He knows what's at stake in this one. He gets it done. Denver. A lot of people, including us, counting them out going into the year. Sean Payton, not quite gotten the respect.
Same thing with the Texans. No elite quarterback.
Yeah. But Sean Payton, not quite as respected as he was in New Orleans, especially during that run of dominance with Drew Brees. Has he found his next Drew Brees with Bo Nix, with the Denver Broncos in Mile High? They're getting a new stadium soon. Who knows what'll happen? And the Buffalo Bills, too, actually, getting a new stadium next year. But there you go. I think there's a case for all 8 teams to get a document, like a really, like...
The Rams are okay, objectively, let me put my bias aside. The Rams are the most boring team to win this. We can agree on this.
Fuck the Rams. We want the Rams to lose. We are big advocates of cheering for the Bears.
I'm putting my bias aside to say that.
Homeboy said truth nuke.
Yeah, truth nuke, yes.
No, bias included is definitely the Bills, and then obviously the Patriots. I don't even know which one is worse, and it's got to be the Bills.
Oh, it's got to be Patriots, dude. Come on.
Dude, the Bills never won. They can't win. Like, it has to be it has to stay that way. They cannot win. It has to stay that way.
They can't lose little brother status?
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. Fair is fair.
What's worse, never winning a Super Bowl or not going to the Super Bowl, or not having a playoff win in your lifetime?
Not winning a Super Bowl. Are you crazy?
Man, but think about this. The heartbreak that I've had to go through.
I can make fun of them.
In my life.
I can make fun of them.
No Super Bowls in my lifetime. All that heartbreak.
Bro, I had a generational 5-year run. 2017 to 2022 as a Saints fan is cruelty.
Yeah. That's a brutal
Minneapolis
stretch.
Miracle. No call pass interference. Another no call pass interference in overtime this time. Drew Brees 4 interceptions to lose to Tom Brady as a wild card team with the Bucks. Drew Brees retires and we suck ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Drafting Cesar Ruiz. That was
Jordan Love.
Yeah.
A tale told as old as time. Then falling in love with Zach Wilson right after. Oh wait, no, this is just the Jacob story now. Damn it. Anyway.
What a sequence, right?
Yeah. Well, this episode got a lot longer than I anticipated it being, but I think it was a really fun discussion either way. Time kind of flew by. So thank you guys so much for tuning in once again to Coast Knows Ball. I hope you enjoyed this episode as well. Please, if you did enjoy it, consider liking, commenting your thoughts about what we talked about. Not just your predictions, but give us a reaction. Who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl? All that kind of stuff. And if you want to see more stuff like this and other fun content, we play games and stuff on here as well. So consider subscribing for all that stuff too. Boys, any final thoughts?
Couldn't have said it better, my man. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been Coast Knows Ball.
See ya.
Peace.